we are doing something way more fun and way more personal, and we all can relate to it. So we are talking about music, and we're talking about how we use music to get through things, how we relate to music, maybe how it's inspiring, whatever, anything and everything music. So welcome. Steph, do you want to start?
Sure. We were talking about music, Nicole and I, and we thought this would be a good topic just because everyone's, music genres they're into and their own experiences in life are just so different. So I think there's so many different ways to look at music and what it does for us, and like good ways, bad ways. Um, but even just this morning before getting ready to film this, I was listening to like everything from like rap to metal to like old music, and yeah, the range is just crazy. Um, I
That
don't
sounds like my playlist.
Yeah, and anyone who was, who would want to play that, it would be so sporadic and so random that you'd be like, what, what goes on?
Exactly. I think if people had to like determine the kind of person you are based off of a playlist, I think that would be really like if you meet new people and they were like, okay, tell me whatever you want about me, and you had to start by being like, here's my playlist. You can't say anything else about you. Just like, here's my playlist. People would think I was nuts. I really think that.
I think it would also like really just be hard to pick out like someone's like specific traits and like personalities and different things just by like, if especially if it was so broad of a range that you'd be like, okay, well, there's happy stuff, there's some more sad stuff, there's, everything.
Exactly. Like I was in our messages earlier, like I first of all, I listen to everything. So, and I love live music, and bless my husband's heart because I drag him to concerts all the time, and he goes, and he used to work concert security. So, live music is just not his jam anymore. He's just seen way too much of, the stuff like, and he used to do a concert security, you know, at the venue, but also for the bands themselves. And so he's seen like up close their life and how a lot of that stuff. And so live music is not his thing, and I absolutely love it. And he is so sweet and will still go. But like 2020 was very, very hard for me because I wasn't able to attend a concert, which is really weird. Like most people would be like, who cares? But like that truly is. I don't care if it's local music. I don't care if it's whatever. But I mean, I have seen um, Damian Marley, and I have seen the Steve Miller Band. I have seen Prince 3 times. I have seen Three Doors Down. I don't know, probably 10 times. I have seen Billy Ray Cyrus. I've seen Mariah Carey. Like you name it. I mean, I am the strangest. I've seen Garth Brooks. Yeah, so I have the strangest, like whatever. But for me, it's like there are people or bands or whatever that I like more than others. But it's definitely for me, it's more about like the connection I make with different music. And it's really funny. So we kind of play these games all the time in life where it's like, um, do you remember when, like, what year this song came out or whatever? And literally, because I connect everything in my life to music. I mean, everything from like boyfriends to like new experiences to things that I was doing with every single thing in my life is like geared to music. I usually just have to think about what I was doing in my life at that time, and then I can tell you what year the song was. Like, as long as I was alive, I could be like, oh yeah, I used to listen to this song when I was doing this, and then I'd be like, okay, so that means I lived here. That means it came out like in this time frame. Like, I mean, it's just really weird how but that that's how important music is to me.
Yeah, I can say the same thing. Or like, if there was a certain event going on during this year and I knew this song came out, it's weird how we tie things together like that, or how it sparks a memory. And yeah, it was just crazy. Like, even we were talking about with the ranges and different genres, and like I've seen all different kinds of bands, and ranging from metal to, like, classic rock to whatever. And yeah, like, I don't know, and especially live music, and being, there in front of the artist, it's, I don't know, it's just a different experience. It makes you feel, like a part of the song or what they're talking and saying about.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, okay, it's like, who is probably one of your, like, for me, it's hard to say, like, I have a favorite. So, like, who's one of your top bands or people or whatever?
It's hard to say because, like, there's like two specific artists, and they've been a part of like different bands and things, but like they each individually like bring something to the table. And so I think it'd be between Chris Cornell and Corey Taylor from he was part of Slipknot and Stone Sour.
Okay.
And yeah, I've read, different books on them, and listened to their music and who they are as individuals. And Corey Taylor especially, just he went through just some like crazy, like traumatic and like awful things in his life, and to be where he is now, and like the music he puts out and the message he tries to, send to people, is just crazy. And Chris Cornell, like, he was always just like a spiritual sort of person, and just everything was very raw, authentic, that came out of him. And like each band he was in, and even in his solo career, it just, I don't know, like you could feel their emotion in what they were saying, and the lyrics they put out, and how they were coming across. And I always love that connection with artists where you are going through something, or maybe you just want to hear something that's real, like, and you hear that and you're just like, wow, like it fills you up with, like, I don't know, it's not happiness, so to speak, but it just fills your soul, like, in a certain way.
I agree. So our very, very first episode, we talked about law of attraction. And to me, music very much is like that to me. So let me explain. Like when I was going through like my separation and my divorce or whatever, like there was just like a lot of uncertainty, and I don't know. I was in a point where I didn't have great self-confidence, and like there was just a bunch of like internal turmoil, and I was lost. And I had never heard of the band Skillet, and at that point they had been around for a while. I mean, they weren't popular like they are today, where everybody like kind of knows who they are, but they definitely had been around. And especially if you listened to Christian rock, I'm sure you're someone who was like, oh yeah, I know them, but I didn't. And I was driving to my sister's house for the weekend. Just, it was my brother's birthday actually. And so we were going to take him out and just do something fun. And so I was driving, and I was flipping through stations, and this one station, like, that wasn't even programmed on my radio. I'm like flipping through, and it comes in, and it's like fuzzy, like super fuzzy, where I normally wouldn't leave it on. And I caught a lyric, and I was like, oh my God, like this song needs to come in. Like, this is intriguing to me. And it was their song Awake and Alive. And like I said, it was like super, super fuzzy. And then all of a sudden it was like the clearest radio station. And I was able to catch the last part of the song and find out who it was. And so then, of course, I'm like finding it on my cell phone so I can listen to the whole thing, because I was like, I really got to hear that. I'd never heard it, and it is one of my go-to, like when I need something to like empower me, that I have to play that, like, and I have to play it on full blast. And it's just it's just one of those things. And like it's just weird how I came across it. Like it was just on like a, you know, super fuzzy, like I could barely hear it, you know, whatever. And I just happened to catch, like, before I turned it off, it said a line that I was just like, whoa, I really got to listen to this. And so I just kind of feel like, for me anyway, that certain music comes to me kind of like when I need it. It's like when I'm putting whatever out into the universe, it's like all of a sudden, another song that is like that is Pink, her song I Am Here. Not every single human being can get goosebumps from music. Like it's a scientific proven fact. That song, every single time I can listen to it 100 times in a row, I will get goosebumps every time I hear that song. And that's one of my songs. Like if I need like true personal empowerment, like I will listen to that. And I tell everyone, like, just listen. I'm like, just listen to it. It'll help you get through anything, because like it's just so powerful. And yeah, so I feel like law of attraction and music go hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I have so many different playlists too. Like I based on moods or based on maybe activities I'm doing or stuff like that, just because then you almost get excited about it too. If it's, you know, a workout playlist, or maybe it's a playlist while you're cleaning, it makes you more motivated to do those things. And, you know, you're like, okay, I know this song, like, you know, it puts me in this mood or whatever. Um, but how I discovered some of these artists was actually like for Corey Taylor and Slipknot and all that, was back in high school. I was going through like just different things growing up, and, you know, different personal struggles, and I came across the song Snuff from Slipknot. And it's probably like, if you have never listened to Slipknot and, you know, or don't know who they are and stuff, like from outward appearance, you know, some people are kind of like, whoa, because they're wearing masks and costumes and different things. But
Right.
and I think sometimes too, even with songs, like it's not always meant in a literal way, like with words or certain lyrics they choose, and it's, you know, a deeper message. And when I heard Snuff, it's like probably one of their slowest songs, or, you know, in comparison to some of the stuff that's out there. But this song just, I don't know, it hit me in a way that like I just didn't expect. And it kind of just like validated like how I felt in that moment. And I was just like, wow, this song is powerful. And so I started getting into, you know, all their other music, and, you know, just different messages they put out there. And I was like, wow, like this is, you know, a band I can really relate to.
Absolutely. Um, I also think it's funny. So I don't ever really stop liking music. So even if it's from, you know, back in the day or whatever. However, there are songs where, like, I've always been a huge Pink Floyd fan, and like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. But there are definitely activities that I did, like in high school and stuff like that, that like equate to that music. And it's really sad, because like now when it comes on, like I still like it, but it's a lot harder for me to listen to, just because I'm not necessarily proud of the person I was in high school. And so like it definitely takes me back to like some of those moments, and I'm like, you know, because then it connects me not so much to music, but to like the person I was. And it's really hard to like, yeah, so like there's a good handful of songs where it's like I can't listen to them the way I used to listen to them, even though I still like the music itself. I'm like, oh, I really love that song or whatever. And then I'm like, no, it just totally gives me like that whole bad, like, you know, like the old Nicole, like wrong vibes, you know, like I don't, I don't want to connect to that person again. But that's the only bad thing, I think, for me with the major connections. It's like then I can't disconnect from it and like just enjoy the music anymore, and so that is hard for me sometimes.
Well, and even how I got into the band The Fray, and when they first came out, like I just remember their first song, Save a Life. I think that's what it's called. Um, and it's about someone dying or, being suicidal and, like those tough topics. And um, I just remember someone in my life, one of their friends had committed suicide. And this was when I was like around 9 years old. And I remember that was like the first time I ever heard of somebody, committing suicide or like hearing that. And at the time, I think I kind of just equated it to because like I didn't fully understand, the reasoning behind why someone would want to do that. I kind of just equated it to like sadness and like, not wanting to be here or be around while feeling, a certain way. And so when that song came out, it was just, I started to understand like the idea behind suicide and why someone would choose that. And so when it comes on, like I'm always reminded of like that moment that I realized like what suicide kind of was. And like, and it's a good song. It's just, that's just what my brain,
Right. Yeah. Like not being able to disconnect from that moment in your life. Sometimes it's just really difficult. Um, so also when I was in high school, I was introduced to Bob Marley. And so I grew up in a house where, my dad listened to, Led Zeppelin and Rush and, things like that and Journey and whatever. So like that was my music until I got to a point where like I could listen to my own and pick my own and whatever. And then, you know, so I didn't grow up in a house where we listened to all kinds of things, and I just remember when I was introduced to Bob Marley, like, um, if I had to pick an artist that truly represents my soul, it is definitely like Bob Marley and reggae and like just that whole easy going, happy feeling, whatever. And I see it like ever since I've listened to him, I've always said like if the world would just wake up in the morning and start their day off by listening to Bob Marley, our world would be such a happier place. Like people would just wake up and like have a good vibe start to their day, and there would be less like anger, because I don't know how you can listen to it and feel anything but like just comfort and happiness. And even his songs that have more of a, like when you listen to the lyrics, have some sadder meaning, it's still very like uplifting, and it's like it's like telling you like you can get through anything. Like doesn't matter how hard life is, like there's still light in your life, and like find it and whatever. And yeah, so Bob Marley is definitely someone who I will listen to for the absolute rest of my life because yeah, it just is like that truly speaks to like my true personality. So
and I think like even for him, like most people, obviously like know he was about peace and some of his other activities and things, but like I don't think most people realize like the impact he left, in the music world and as a person, and the songs he put out for everyone. And it was not just about peace, but just loving yourself, loving one another, and um, finding a way to be yourself without, trumping on someone else's parade or, causing violence or being, disruptive. Just, being you while still being like a strong person. And there's not a lot of artists out there that you can truly get that authentic message from. And what's remarkable about him was, I was just reading this like the other day, how during his last album, most people like didn't realize like how bad like cancer was attacking him and stuff. And like even after he put out the album, it was just, the whole album was just positive and it was happy, and just go with the flow. And like you would have never known he had cancer based on that album. It was crazy.
Yeah. He is a huge inspiration to me in that sort of way. Like, like you said, no one would have ever known, unless he said something. And one of the, so it's really weird. I'm typically not like a groupie. I'm not the person who cares about getting backstage. Like I just want to know the music and feel the music and experience the music and whatever. And the rest is I'll leave to other people. But one of the coolest experiences of my life, I was pregnant with Jacob. So it was like early 2005. And my best friend Lisa and I had tickets to go see Marley. He was here in Madison, and he was playing at this little tiny like blues place that used to be here. And no matter where you sat in Luther's Blues, you had a good seat because it was not a big venue. And so like we go, we like have fun or whatever. Afterwards, I bought a shirt and took it up to one of the stage crew, and I was like, hey, I'm like, is there any way you can get Damien to sign this for me? And he's like, if you just go outside and go to this street, which was super close, he was like, he'll let you on his bus. And I'm like, whatever, no he won't. But I was like, let's go give it a try. So we went, and it was just her and I, and my brother was there, and my ex-husband was there. And those two were making fun of Lisa and I, actually, and they were like, whatever. But I was like, I just want an autograph. Like, it's not every day. Like, I'll never get to meet Bob Marley. I'm like, it's not every day that you get like this close to one of his children, whatever. Like, it's kind of a cool thing for me. So a guy comes out, and he's like, just give him a minute and he'll talk to you. And I was still very skeptical, and I was like, whatever, they're just gonna blow us off, whatever. Like 5 minutes later, the bus door opens, and they were like, yeah, come on. Like this big, huge, like cloud of smoke comes billowing out of the bus. And I always joke and say this is why Jacob's so mellow. I was like, it's because he got the best time of his life when he wasn't even born yet. Like go up onto his bus, and he literally and he talked to us for a little bit, and we got to get pictures taken with him. He was very, very quiet, like soft-spoken young man, like whatever. But while most people would be like in awe that they're meeting someone famous or whatever, the only thing I could think of was, oh my goodness, you're Bob Marley's kid. Like Bob Marley held you at one point in your life. Like, and Damian Marley's dreads are so long, so clearly he's been growing them his whole entire life. And like I touched him, and I was like, Bob Marley probably touched your hair. Like I couldn't even like focus that I think it's so cool that I met Damian Marley like in person and whatever, but I was so like just tunnel visioned on the fact that it was Bob Marley's kid. And that's like all I could talk about like for months after that. I was like, I met Bob Marley's kid. I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, but that's just how much of an impact he has had on like almost well, now more than half of my life. I mean, it's just he's been such a huge role. Like, so anyway, that's my only cool meeting anyone story.
A few years ago, we actually went to this like, it was like a vape meet type thing like they used to have a few years ago, and at Saliva, the band, actually released their own vape juice a few years ago, and they were doing like concerts and things around the area. So they came to this local vape shop and where we are, not too far, and we decided to go and we tried their vape juice and all that, and then we actually got to meet them. And this show was like already sold out and everything, and some of the people there didn't have tickets or anything, and so the lead singer was like asking people like, hey, like you can come and see our show and whatever, we'll get you in, whatever. And they kind of did that to me too. And then, but at the time, it was a 21 and over show, and I was under 21, so I'm like, oh man, it's not gonna work out. Like, and so and so my brother-in-law, like my husband, I'm like, just go, like, you guys can go, whatever. And so they didn't want to go because I couldn't go or whatever, but I was just like, this is like such a cool experience, and if I was able to go at that time, imagine like the story I could have told there.
No kidding. That would have been so awesome. Very cool. What like has music influenced you in a way of like with what you want to do in life, like especially like with our podcast and helping people? Has music formed any of that part of you, like that helpful, kind-hearted, the side of you that everyone has to love, because I love it. That super sweet, like you want to help everybody, side. Do you think music has helped form that part of you?
I think it has. Growing up, like I lived with different people, like my parents, and different influences from my grandparents and stuff. So I had one parent that listened to like heavy metal and rock and alternative and different stuff, and I had another parent that listened to like rap and pop and rock and a little bit of everything. And then my grandparents liked different things from like classical music to Sinatra to like Earth, Wind and Fire. So I had influences all over, and I think seeing how different people reacted to different music, and just how it made people feel overall, like kind of helped me see different things too and become a certain way. And certain songs like that from like the 70s, like Earth, Wind and Fire, and like they're just so happy and like get up and move type songs that it's,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And then when you listen to other things that are, I don't know, maybe more alternative or more sad, and even in those messages, like everyone's been through a hard time in their life at least once, and like being able to take that and like sometimes even in songs, like you feel maybe in the moment like sad or upset or whatever, but like sometimes there's also a message in that song, like, yeah, I was sad and like felt this way, but like like better days are ahead or stuff like that. Like, and it's what you take from songs too, I think.
I agree. So like one of the things you were saying that you have like different playlists or whatever. So like I have my exercise playlist because I can't listen to fun music when I'm like I have to listen to like angry music when I'm exercising. Don't know why, but like it totally just drives me. Like then I can um, jog or what. Like I just need something that's like. So like that is a little bit more of when I listen to, things like Queensryche or, I don't know, Metallica, things like that is a little bit more like, whatever for me. But then I have like, I'm the person that every now and then I just need a good cry, even if there isn't really just anything like specific in my life. And so I have songs that I don't care if I've heard them 1,000 times, there are songs that I will cry every single time I hear them. And so like I have like that playlist. So like, you know, whenever I'm like, I just need to cry today, like I will turn on that music and it gets me every time. And you know, I have music that is super meaningful to like Chad and I. And I sent you one yesterday. He will randomly, he's the sweetest thing. He will randomly send me music like, you know, like, oh, this is, you know, our song, or this is, you know, whatever. This makes me think about whatever. And the one he sent me yesterday was about being a stepdad, and of course, like it made me cry just because it was super sweet. But shocking that something made me cry. Yeah, because anyone who watches last week's episode, you'll see I cry. I ugly cry. I'm good at crying. I'm like a crying pro. It's okay. And so yeah. But like I just love that there are so many different angles that music can come at you, and I love that music has more than just like a connection to, you know, like personal memories, but they use it in therapy. There's a connection between people with Alzheimer's and connecting them into like who they are by playing music that they once loved, and it helps them like connect. Our brain is so amazing, and when it can connect to things like that, like they actually say that listening to music is like exercises for your brain, and that if you truly are someone who listens to a lot of music, a lot of times your like brain health is like from mental health to like physical performance of your brain. Your memory is better, your like cognitive stuff is just better. Like, I mean, it's truly like an exercise for your mind, and I think that's amazing. So like if you learn to play an instrument, a lot of times you're using a different part of your brain. They were saying that people who can't communicate very well, if they sing it, they usually can communicate way better than if they just try to talk. So people who have had damage done to certain parts of their brain and like their speech is off, they try to do like therapies to teach them to like sing instead, and there's like a different connection, and a lot of times they can do it. Like it's amazing to me what it's not just about something beautiful or, you know, something that you can connect to on an emotional level. Like it truly alters your brain, and that is amazing to me.
Yeah, and just I was reading that too about the Alzheimer, like different patients and like using that to help jog their memory of like different things they liked and like you had said. So that is cool to know. And like I think too, just on an emotional level, music sometimes you hear comments about, you know, violent music or certain kinds of music like rap or heavy metal, and like, you know, how it's reflected negatively in the media. And I think sometimes it's easier to just listen to something or hear something, you know, while you're going through it instead of talking about it, just, or at least initially, because sometimes you don't know like what words to use or how to convey that message that you're, you know, feeling to someone else. But like when you listen to certain songs, you're kind of like, wow, this is exactly like, you know, how I feel right now, or this is like what I'm trying to get at. And so I think just like listening to that and like kind of like having your own little time and space to like, you know, just feel whatever you're feeling in that moment is like what you need to do sometimes before you can talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I do think that young people, especially, if they're going through something, I think it's really hard for them to connect the actual emotion, like, you know, so they might be able to say, like, I'm sad, but they might not be able to explain the what or the why or whatever. And sometimes even as adults, it's hard to come up with that. You just know, like, I just don't feel like I normally do or whatever. But I think when kids have something that they're going through or whatever, and they can at least have some sort of release, you know, like I've told my kids, you know, if you're angry, like, you know, and you don't want to talk about it, you know, go in your room and like punch your bed, to scream in your pillow. Like, well, what better to do that to than have added music to that, you know, like, you know, and, or be like mom and throw on headphones and listen to like angry music and, you know, get a workout in. But young kids who do have a hard time articulating, you know, the connection between what they're feeling and what's going on in their life or whatever. I think it's great to have music to help you decipher through some of that. So when you look at me today, you would never think that I like was a huge like rap fan, but in high school, like Bone Thugs and Harmony and Snoop Dogg and Tupac and Biggie, all those people were so huge, and women of rap were, you know, becoming like a bigger thing, like, you know, Little Kim and, you know, it was just a much different world, you know, like Eminem was starting to come up. Like, I love all of that music. And I just remember being a teenager and like getting into debates because, you know, like my family would be like, well, you know, do you think that because you listen to music that talks about, you know, and like ultimately some of the stuff that they talk about can be horrible. You know, there are some songs about killing cops. There are some songs about murdering people. There are whatever it is. But I am definitely a person that believes it's not. I grew up listening to all of that, and I'm not out murdering people. I'm not whatever. I think there is a connection between, you know, what you listen to and or what you watch on TV or whatever, and what you think, you know, maybe is right or wrong or whatever. But when you also have other people in your life who are like, no, that's not right, or, you know, like they're using this as a platform to talk about stuff that they've seen or, you know, that they've lived through or that they know of someone who lived through it or whatever, and help you learn that the words and the music isn't necessarily like someone condoning what is happening, then I definitely think like all music is beautiful. Like, it's not about, you know, yes, I'm trying to brainwash you to go do, you know, horrible things or whatever, but you definitely need to have like a moral base where, you know, obviously, like, you know, things that are right and wrong, and you need to have people in your life who are also like helping you like grow and learn from that. And when you don't have guidance at all, I can see how, you know, just things that influence you in any way, whether it's music or stuff on TV or things that you hear or people that you physically see doing other things. Like, if you don't have a good support group that's like teaching you how to be a good person, you can fall victim to anything. And I think it's really easy to blame crap like that on, well, it's the music you listen to. No, it's not. It's the lack of parenting. It's the lack of, you know, discipline. It's the lack of consequences. It's, you know, it's not. It's, you can't blame an art for the act of somebody else. You know, and so that always bothered me. You know, instead of focusing on placing blame on someone who just wrote down an event that happened in their life or whatever, I think you need to look past that and go to like the source of the actual person who is doing the wrongdoing. And so I think we need to stop blaming books that we read or, you know, movies that we watch or things like that. Like, it's not, it's about like teaching young kids, like, you can hear these things and you can see these things, it doesn't mean you do these things. And I think we need to get back on that track in life.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Just like blaming, like you said, music and different media and whatever on how things are. And I think too, just sometimes like you're not, just because you listen to heavy metal or rap or some of the genres that might be, talk about certain things or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're an angry person or like you said, you're committing crimes or anything like that. Sometimes it's also just educating yourself on other people's experiences. And sometimes in songs, maybe I myself haven't experienced like drive-bys or stuff like that, or even people who have attempted suicide or some of the other topics that could be in music. But it lets me know, like, as a listener, like what that person went through, and like listening to it through the lyrics or whatever, it just it puts you in a different state of mind. You're no longer like obviously you didn't write the song and whatever, but it's like music is like listening to a story, so to speak. And
Exactly.
and
It's like
yeah,
a book
there's
but just sung, not written.
right. And sometimes it's not literal, or it's it's a metaphor or whatever, but like you're hearing their experience and you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes for that few minutes, and just putting yourself out there. And I think that's the cool part about music, is that like every artist is different and their own experiences and the kind of sound they put out. And I don't know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's great to give someone who might not be able to sit down and write a book a way to tell their story, or, um, let the world, experience them in a different, um, especially artists, I would say, back from like the 80s, where there was, lots of big hair and makeup, and it was like very costume-ish, and whatever, where you feel like people were hiding who they really are, um, or what maybe not even hiding who they are, maybe just being who they are, and not being able to connect with other people was giving them a platform to be able to get people to like hear about them, where maybe on a regular day people weren't listening or didn't care, or whatever. And I think that's super important for a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of people who need to be able to put that content out there so that they can feel understood.
Yeah. And I think too, just like with people that feel lost or feel like like they don't know where they fit in sometimes, like hearing certain kinds of music and like being able to at least associate with that, like, is a good starting point for like, okay, like maybe I can find people that like this kind of music, or maybe I can have a conversation on this now since I've listened to this. Like it gives you kind of like this courage to like do certain things, like, and motivates you to do certain things. And like you were saying, angry music or like stuff like that when working out. And some people who listen to that are like, might think that others are angry or like whatever, like we had talked about. But sometimes it's just motivating to hear like certain things, or it being conveyed in a certain way. And like other people take certain genres and associate that with a different feeling. And I don't know, it's just cool. We can all make that up as we go, and like it might change over time, and that's cool too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. The world would be weird without music. I can't imagine. Like, and I'm so glad that there have been people who have paved the way for more to be able to be expressed. Like, um, I love 50s music. And I think it's hilarious when people think back to that time when like Elvis was a shock to parents, and um, they they didn't want their daughters watching, or they wouldn't put Elvis on. If he was on TV, he was only allowed to be from like the waist up, because it was like, you know a sin the way he was, moving his hips or whatever. And now you have Cardi B and whatever. I'm just saying we've come a long way from, some hip movement to, whatever. And I just think it's great that people were brave enough to keep pushing the envelope a little bit. And though I don't necessarily like all of it or whatever, I still think it's nice that it all doesn't fit into one envelope.
And it's crazy too. I was just thinking about this, like when an artist dies, like, or we hear about it, like how it just impacts us in a certain way, like especially artists that like we really connected to, or maybe while we were going through a different period in our life, really helped us out, and you just, I don't know, your heart just sinks, like that's how connected you are.
Yeah. So a big one. I think it was my freshman year in high school. Kurt Cobain died, and like I just remember, I who didn't like Nirvana, but I just remember like so many people being like, you would just walk through the halls of the school, and it was like it devastated everybody. They were like, it was like people felt like, shit, if he can't do it, how am I going to get through? And it was just really hard because so many people, like at that time, especially among my age group, like just had that connection. Like, he understood them, and it truly rocked the world of so many people. And so out of all the artists that have passed in my time, like that is one that like I'll never forget, just because I mean, like in my head, I physically can recall being in the hallway and just seeing like the looks on people's faces, and like it was hard for a lot of people.
I remember just different artists, passing away too. And like some of the ones that left an impact were Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Prince. But like I think the biggest one, like while I've been alive, that passed away, and it just like that's all you'd hear on the news and everything, was Michael Jackson in 2009. Just, and I remember months on end, like it was just like everyone was just devastated, and like all the music that he created for years and years, and it was just, and they were hit after hit too, and it was just crazy to see, his kids and different people in Hollywood even just like, devastated.
Yeah, he is definitely someone where I wish I would have had the chance to see him. So I've seen Prince in concert 3 times, and I am so sorry to anyone who did not ever get to see him perform, because he is amazing. Like, talk about a true performer, absolutely amazing. His concerts were so much fun. There was so much life at his concerts. So I'm very glad that I got to see him. But yeah, Michael Jackson is definitely one. I mean, I grew up, like I think I don't know, 5 when Thriller came out. Like I grew up my whole entire life, like had Michael Jackson in it. Like, and so it would have been very cool to see him perform live. Again, he's another person who he could adapt from like just the different years and how music changed and whatever. I mean, and so many artists can't do that, and they're super hot during the time or when they first come out or whatever, but then like as music kind of changes and sounds different and is different and whatever, they can't adapt themselves to it. And he did every single time, and every single time he would come out with more hits, and it was just, he was amazing to listen to. And yeah, I always think it's felt like it's one of those things, like if you can't like Michael Jackson music and dogs, like there's something wrong with you. I'm just kidding. There really isn't, but
Another one that like I don't think like many people talked about like when they passed was the lead singer from the Cranberries.
Oh, yeah. You you know it's funny because a lot of people really didn't talk. I mean, at least not in the same way as that when you hear about other artists,
Right.
you know.
And I think she made a huge impact, and she was from Ireland, and she had some deep messages, and I think her music just was incredible. And to like, it wasn't that she didn't get like recognition, but just I don't know, I don't think as many people talked about her, her legacy and like what she brought to the table, when she passed, as they should have.
Right. And again, I mean, not that women artists haven't been around forever, because they have been, but when you again have someone who's willing to be bold and like hit on topics that are a little less mainstream, I guess, I think that's fantastic. I haven't thought about her and them in a while, but I definitely, they're on my playlist.
But yeah, it was just like, yeah, how artists like affect us, like I said, is just insane. And like, I don't know, I think you might even just listen to the music that, even though they're no longer here, like just I don't know, it's still, certain songs will still hit the same for you, like even if the artist isn't here, or somebody in your life, might not be here anymore, like we had talked about in the last episode in music a little bit. Some of those songs really get you through tough times or help remind you of the good times, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. So then there's like, some stuff where, for example, R. Kelly was really big when I was in high school, and I loved his music. And we listened to it all. I mean, I probably know every single lyric of every single song on 12 play. Like, I mean, I know it. I grew up with it. Like, it is, but that is one of those things where now it's tainted for me, just because of who he has turned out to be, because like you think through music, well, I think it's true for anything, through music or movies or television shows or whatever, like you get this connection, like, oh, I think I know that person, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like, no, I didn't know, I mean, because obviously you can't know them, and when you're faced with the reality of like who they actually are, you get like taken aback. I am not very big on like cancel culture by any means, but I can't support the music. So like he's someone who is no longer on my playlist, and that's just really sad because like his music truly is connected to some of my greatest memories in that like 1994 period of life, and I'll forever be grateful for those moments in my life or whatever. But just out of respect for the girls that he's affected and how I know what that does to someone mentally, like I can't support that. So like his music has gone away from my life, but it is what it is.
And I kind of can relate to that too, just with I used to listen to Marilyn Manson, a bit, and if you know anything about him or like some of the titles of his music, it's not for everyone, and
right. I like some of his stuff.
I think it can be a little bit, artsy, and it's not always literal too. But even him recently with some of the allegations that have come out, and like even especially from people like like band members or people from different bands that were men, even backing people's claims, like, yeah, like whatever, they're no good or whatever, it starts to make you look and go, well, maybe I, don't know this artist as well as I thought, or, that doesn't jive with me, some of how they are as a person. So I haven't listened to his music in a while, and, I don't hate anybody or anything like that, or hate him as a person. I just don't think some of the choices are, things that I would go with.
Exactly. and this is a little off topic, but in like just in a nutshell, like I truly feel like someone small like me, I can't make an impact on someone who like has this sort of fame and like status and whatever, unless I don't provide them with what they're looking, like, so they want to make money off of their thing. And so like, I feel like that's the only value I have is, cause I'm not going to badmouth people and I'm not going to, whatever. But, so it's like the only thing I physically can do is not provide you with money on your thing. If I don't support, whatever your cause is or whatever your, message in the world is. And I'm constantly trying to like advocate for victims who like, whether it's human trafficking or, just people who can't stand up for themselves, really, because I feel like as human beings, we're supposed to protect those who can't protect themselves. And because of that, like I am probably on a soapbox, and then like, preachy, but I can't support people who, have harmed somebody else in that manner. And, honestly, I'm probably glad that I don't, like, as a whole, we don't get to know, stars in like their true light all the time, and that we have like this messed up fake version in our heads just because of what they say or sing or the role that they play in the show. Because otherwise I feel like there'd be a lot less that I listen to because of that, like, because I feel like I have to be on the side of, the people who need the extra help and the support and whatever. So I am glad that in my head it's all like this fake whatever, but when I do find out like true things about people, like I definitely have to like stand by my character and not, so it's easier for me to give up music that I once liked versus, give up a piece of who I am.
Right. And it's just funny, like with people who, like you had said, like supporting artists and different things, and like the only thing you can do is like take away, you supporting them in whatever way that is. And it's funny to me how some people, like, even with like being hateful or hating artists or just people in general, and like they think like, and they continue to watch their videos or do whatever, and it's like you're hating them, but like you're just giving them like more of what they're looking for.
Right, and then it's turning you into this nasty person who, like, so you're gonna sit there and watch their stuff and then just make awful comments. I mean, that shows more your character than that person's character. I mean, right. I don't understand that at all. Yeah.
But yeah, when you take that away, like, streaming their music or, however you listen to them and stuff, like, then it sends a message to, not only them, but like yourself that like, hey, like, this isn't something I jive with. This isn't something that I look at as good. So, I'm just going to remove myself from the situation.
Right. And the thing is that like, I will never be the person, like, it's better for me to stop listening to that music or whatever than it is for me to be like, nope, that music can't, it's not allowed. No one can listen to it.
Yeah.
No, that's not for me to decide. I just know I'm not going to support it, and so I'm not. And the end. And I think it's really sad that we have strayed away from like each individual person doing what they think is right and going to this thing where we just start taking things away and not allowing people to make that choice for themselves, because that's not one that doesn't teach anybody anything at all. And I think we need to use experiences in life, that even if they're ugly experiences in life, that's how we grow and that's how we learn. And not every single thing in the world is going to be happy, sunshine, flowers, perfect, whatever. And we need to start learning that and teaching that to other people. And so I would never be like, oh, we should ban that. Like, I'm going to draw a blank right now. what is the Christmas song? Baby, It's Cold Outside.
Yeah.
I love that song, and I'm gonna play it. And I see this is where like people start to not like me because, like that song is a timepiece, and how like the time when it's from is not. I don't know. I could go on about it forever, but like no one is implying anything horrible in that. I mean, I know the lyrics, whatever, but you can't be like, that's offensive. But then, no offense, some of the music that is played today, like, and I don't tell my kids like, oh my goodness, you can't listen to that or, whatever. But there are some lyrics where like, even as someone who's listened to probably all sorts of things that like people would find offensive, even every now and then my kids play something and I'm like, and I truly feel like I've heard it all, but I just don't know how you can find one thing offensive and not the other. Like, I don't know, but that's me. So I am the person who I will post 22 different versions of Baby It's Cold Outside during December every year because I like ruffling feathers, and that is just me. So anyone who watches this, if you sing Baby It's Cold Outside, send me your video because I will post it on my Facebook feed in December.
I love it. That's how I am with this one artist, Tom McDonald, who's he's a rapper, and like he's got all kinds of piercings and tattoos and stuff. But he's self-made. Like he doesn't have, no like big not albums, big what do you want to call it? Um like record labels or anything that have signed him and stuff. It's all him and his girlfriend that do, the videography, the music, like everything. Yeah, and like she does her own music too, and he helps her with that, and it's like their own little team. And
that's awesome. I love stuff like that.
he's just like, I was looking for something that was similar to Eminem but different, like a different rapper, something different, new, fresh. And I came across him, and he's, for some people they're just like, it's too much, like whatever. But he, in my mind, just says all the stuff that like people think about and everything else, but isn't afraid to say it, like, or put it in songs and look a certain way. And I don't know, I think we need more of that, like different ideas and different looks, and like, it's okay to be different.
Yeah, I agree, and it's good to stand up for what you believe in, and yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what his name is. Hold on, I gotta look it up really quick. Oh yeah. So of course, like I've been sharing it, like even with people who don't really listen to a lot of rap or whatever, but it's called The Patriot. I think his name is Topher. Anyway, and I think it features somebody like the Marine rapper or something like that. Anyway, it's a patriotic song, very patriotic and whatever. And I absolutely love it. And I'm sure it's not everyone's cup of tea, especially right now, but I absolutely love it. So I'm just really happy that there are people who go against the grain and, stand up for what they think is right, and they find their passion and they're not afraid to shine, even when when it seems like so many people are against you, and so like the mom in me, when I watch stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I'm really proud of these guys, like like it's just, you can't shut it off even when it's not your kid, but like I just love that sort of thing. And so like you were saying, it's just you're like, maybe it's too much for other people, but I just love when people do stay true to themselves and not submit to what everyone else wants you to be or think how, everyone wants you to think. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It, just makes you true to yourself, and it doesn't mean you're hateful or anything like that. And I don't know, it just makes me proud when they stay true to that.
Yeah, and I think certain people with different genres, just because someone listens to country doesn't mean they're at Country Thunder every year, or if they listen to rap, that they're out, doing like criminal things, or if they listen to heavy metal, that they're just angry and aggressive people. Everybody has goes through different things, and sorry, has different moods, and like how anything affects us, like even throughout the course of one day, it could be so like up and down, you have no idea, like, so yeah. And I just think that, like, we can't like shame people or judge people for the kind of music they listen to either, because at the end of the day, that's not going to tell you everything you need to know about the kind of person you are. It's just it's a small part of who you are, like, in what you identify with.
Exactly. Well, like, and I'm a good example of that because, like I said, I listen to almost everything under the sun. Like, there's some rap that's probably a little bit too intense for me, but not a ton. And to be honest with you, like, I think it's more newer rap versus like old school stuff. Like, I love almost all the old school stuff. Like, it's just, again, it's what I grew up with and whatever. But the kids play stuff all the time. And I might not know who the artist is or whatever, but rarely am I like, oh, this is bad. Like, you're not going to play that again. I mean, I really don't ever have that when it comes to music. And clearly, if they're connecting with it on some sort of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm always in teaching mode with my kids. And if I hear something where I'm like, okay, that's not, like, that's not really how you treat a girl or what, but of course they're always like, Mom, like, of course, like, but that's only because that's just not how we do things here. But like, I'm a good example of it because I listen to all of it, and yeah, I'm like the world's biggest rule follower. Like, Chad thinks I'm so funny because like, when I was a teenager, I would have broken every rule under the sun. I didn't care, like, whatever. And as an adult, I'm like, no, it says right here, you can't do that, so we're not going to do that. Like, no. And like, I truly am. I'm predictable and I'm boring, and that's okay. But I listen to all of that, and anyone who were to look at my playlist, they might not, like, without knowing me, might not know that. Like, they would be like, oh, like, what's this girl into? But really, nothing. I like music.
Well, it's just funny too to see people's reactions and be like, and I've gotten that before where, like, I'll be at work somewhere, or in some kind of setting with like other people, and an older song will come on, like literally anything from like 40s to like 70s, whatever. And I'll mention something like I know the artist, or like some of the lyrics or something, and they'll be like, how do you know that song, like you're however old? And it's like, I feel like there's no age limit on certain things either. Like, if you're 20 years old and you want to listen to Buddy Holly, or you're 70 and you want to rock out to Bruno Mars, like, you do you, like, whatever like speaks to you, do it.
Yeah. So as a mom, I think it's funny because, like, especially with Zach, Jacob, and Cody, because like, I see, like, the influence that I've actually have had on them, and each one of them are truly like a different piece of me. Like, I'm like, oh, you're the 14 through 16-year-old Nicole, like, and you're the, whatever, the like 12 to 14-year-old Nicole, whatever. But they all have, their own. Cody's very into like fun, upbeat, like, songs that you can kind of sing to, and Jacob's very much my rapper kid, and Zach he listens to Eminem, but yet he also really loves, like, like throwback. Like he loves AC/DC, and he went to the Queensryche concert with me, and like he just I don't know, he's just he's like the blend of me. But I just think it's really funny. And then Tag, who's 18, is very big into 70s music, and he loves David Bowie, and there's just a whole different. But then Parker is a little bit more like Jacob. They like a little bit more of like the newer rap stuff, and so it's interesting to see, like, even in your own home, how different everyone can be. Like, I listen to everything. Chad listens to almost everything. He's not as big on rap, but he's a little bit older than I am. So he was older when like rap started hitting. Like, I think he was in college when rap really started hitting the scene versus me being in high school, and so it just played a different role in our lives, and but so even under one roof, it's funny to see like how different people can be, and it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, it's same here. Like, my youngest sister likes all sorts of music, like older music, Amy Winehouse, some like alternative and like metal, and like my other sister likes like she was like really big into rap, like pretty much her whole life, and like she likes alternative and like a little bit of like some of the older music and stuff. And um my husband, he likes alternative metal. He'll listen to like disco, he'll listen to 70s, 80s, like whatever. And yeah, and I just listen to, like you said, like a little bit of everything. So yeah, it's just weird to see too, even in my house or people I know, like how theirs is different from mine or what music we have in common. It's cool.
Yeah, and that's definitely one thing I like finding out about people as I get to know them, like what kind of stuff that they're really into. And I think it's really fun going out with people, because then, like, especially if you're somewhere where you can throw stuff on the jukebox or whatever, just to hear like the different stuff that gets played. I just think that makes it really fun.
And it's funny when people start to see like what you listen to or a song, or maybe it's something weird to them, but like, to you, it's like the greatest thing. Like for me, like, I don't know why. I love the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. And, everyone else around me like makes fun of me. They're like, Steph, it's your song. Or like, just because it's so old, but like, I don't know. It just hits me in a way that like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a thing in Iowa every year where they, do it. I don't know if it's like a Buddy Holly Fest or whatever, but they play all like old music, and they have stuff in the streets and whatever, and I want to go to that so bad, and everyone's like, you are the weirdest person, like, why? And I'm like, I love that, like, I want to go. Like, I always say, I think I was born in the wrong time. Like, I think I was made for like dates to happen at like the soda shop, and you have like your milkshake with 2 straws. Like, I think that's when I was supposed to be around. And I just missed out on it.
I know what you mean though, like it, and I felt like that too, like, or like I imagine, what would have been like to be around in the 60s or 70s, or even like you said, the 50s. Like, I don't know, it's just crazy how not only do the times change, but like music changes and styles and different things, and to be a part of some of these would just be interesting.
Exactly. I think I love the idea of not just the music, but like how people interacted back in the day. Like, I always joke around Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, and I think I think it would be so cool to be a woman back in the time where there are men who are fighting, and they stop and they're like, well, lady, and then they go about killing people again, like, but they don't do anything to you, like, like, I don't know, like, to me, I'm just like, oh, that's so romantic. Like, they're very kind to you, whatever. But I have a warped mind, I guess. But like, it's fine that they're sword fighting over here, but they stop and say hi to you politely. I don't know. And that's just kind of how I feel about music. Like, I think I love like the sweet, sappy, whatever. And then I love the stuff that like helps me power through like a hard workout and, or if I'm angry, like it takes a lot to get me angry. But when I do become angry, it's nice to have like that music where it's just like powerful and you can just get it out without like actually having to fight with someone. Because most things in life I feel like are not worth a fight. It's just how I view things. Like, it's kind of like one of those things like, is this even going to matter a year from now? Like what you're angry about right this second, is it going to matter? And most of the time it's no. And so it's just nice to have something where you can like, go kickbox against a bag and like have like this music that just helps you like get it out and, be done with it.
Yeah, and even earlier when we were talking about, people using music to like express themselves, or maybe they don't know, what words to use to try to like convey that message. But even just aside from that, like you had said, like maybe it's not necessarily worth talking about, or you want to think about it for a minute before and realize like, is it really something, or can I just like let this go? And like sometimes just putting on, your Bluetooth headphones, whatever, blasting it, out loud, just helps you, process whatever you're feeling. And then you're kind of like, okay, like I feel better. Like maybe I don't, it was nothing big or whatever to talk about. So
yeah. Well, I hope that anyone who listens to today's chat about music, send us what music has helped you get through, or what music helps you get through stuff. We're always looking for new things to add to ours, just because we do like music so much. And let us know how it affects your life, how it helps you, anything. So share us your thoughts and ideas. We would love to hear them.
Yeah. And any playlists or certain things maybe you listen to on like a Spotify or something like that, maybe that's public or whatever, that you want to share for other people too, that would be more than welcome.
Yeah, we would love to share those with people, especially if you're going through something and you feel like, some music that you're listening to is empowering or it's helping you cope or whatever. We love passing those things on, because if we can help someone else, that's just kind of what we like to do. We like to share the word. So definitely contact us. You can hit us up on our text line. You can find that number on Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube and send messages there. You can post on our Instagram page. All over the place. You can hit us up. You can email us at goaheadpodcast@gmail.com. So however you get stuff to us, we'll make sure that we spread the word for you.
Yes, definitely. And until next week, have courage to grow through life and not just go through life.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.